Recording in progress.
We'll call to order the meeting of the zoning board of review, town of North Smithfield, Tuesday, January 11th, 2022. Jen, roll call, please.
Robert Nigerian,
Here.
Scott Martin,
Here.
Paul Pascarello,
Here.
Michael Amalfitano, Vinny Antonio, Vinny,
They talking to me? Yeah, I'm here. He's here.
Gail Benoni, here, Christopher DeGio.
Here.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, just bear with us. We're still in the world of COVID. So we have some members, the members that aren't present are attending virtually. Council is attending virtually. The stenographer is attending virtually. I will conduct this meeting up to the new business, which is item 7 in the agenda. Then I will recuse myself, and the vice chairman, Mr. Martin, will take over the meeting. The reason I'm explaining this to you is that Mr. Martin is going to conduct it virtually with the assistance of Carl and any members that are up here. So you're just going to need to take a moment, have a little bit of patience to work through a little bit of transition that will occur between not having a person sitting here, but a person watching who's going to administrate you. When you do any witnesses, any members of the public who are going to speak, when that time is made available to you, the lectern is over there with a microphone. You're asked to approach that when you're directed to do so, and work with Mr. Johnson. As it relates to the stenographer, you're just going to look to the screen for no other reason, because the common is a logical thing to do. Raise your right hand, give your name, and just follow her directions. Again, it takes a little bit more cooperation than normal. We do have a good number of people here. I do not know how many of you will or will not want to speak. When that time comes, that's the public comment section. You will all be given the opportunity to speak. If we have multiple speakers, in consideration of time and everyone else, we ask that you keep your points concise and to the point. And another note, if you are in the public, when you speak, you address the board. Please do not address anyone else. Any questions, any concerns, you address to the board members, both virtually and in person. And then after that, again, the only reason I'm explaining this to you is normally there's just a few of us here for any given decision. We have a number of people. The procedure is fairly straightforward. The applicant, when item 7 is reached on the agenda, the application will be introduced. Documents will be introduced into testimony. The applicant's representation representatives will be asked to speak, make a presentation on their behalf. At that point, the board members can engage in conversation and discussion. Then at a certain point, public comment will be opened, and you will go in an orderly fashion by whatever direction we do, and just bear with us. And anyone who wants to speak is free to speak. And at that point, after public discussion is closed, the board goes into deliberation, and at which point they either decide to continue the meeting or they reach a decision. So that's the process. Again, I took a little bit more time than usual because of the unusual circumstance, and also because of the number of people that are here, because I'm assuming most of you are not with the applicant. So you're all welcome. Everyone will have an opportunity to speak. Just be brief and to the point. Okay, item 3 on the agenda, disclosure of no compensation of pension credits received by board members. Everyone you see and hear has been appointed by the town council to serve voluntarily. Item 4, disclosure and notice. Zoning board of review members shall disclose any ex parte communications about any contested or material adjudicatory facts or opinions concerning all received those minutes electronically. You have time to review them. If anyone has any corrections or revisions, please note. Give a moment. Hearing none, if I can have a motion to accept the minutes.
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes of November 9th.
We have a second? I'll second that. We have a motion and a second to approve the minutes of November 9th. We don't need a roll call vote. All in favor? Aye. Virtual members all set?
Yep, aye.
Aye. Okay, thank you. Item 6. Approval of the decision for Anthony Del Vicario, ZBR 20-07. This decision was distributed in the last day or two. I believe members had sufficient time to read it. Are there any grammatical or other revisions or questions that any member might have? Okay. Do we have a motion to accept the minutes, the decision for ZBR 20-07, petition of Anthony Del Vicario? I'll make that motion. We have a motion, second?
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a second. We'll have a roll call vote, Jen, please.
Robert Hazardous.
Yes.
Scott Martin.
Yes.
Paul Pasquarello.
Yes.
So Michael Napolitano was on the decision, and he's not here tonight.
That's okay. We had plenty of members present, right?
Yes.
So you can just continue.
Okay. Bill Benoni,
Yes.
Christopher DeVille.
I have to abstain on the vote.
He was not there, yeah.
So who do I do?
Well, look on the bottom, you have myself, Mr. Martin, Pasquarello, and Ms. Benoni. So I believe that will be sufficient.
Okay.
All right, so that motion, that decision is accepted again. That ruling was what it was. Okay, we're moving on to item number 7. I'm going to recuse myself from this. Mr. Martin, Vice Chairman, can take over from here.
Good.
Okay,
I'm all set. All
go ahead.
right, so item number 7 is the application for RTM Written LLC for special use permit, dimensional variance of the house and operating indoor shooting range at 229 Quaker Highway, AP 001, lot 470, Smithfield. The proposal includes an 840 square foot addition to the northwest end of the existing building. Release is sought for section 5.4.6, number 9, recreation indoor commercial, 9.2 for a special use permit, and 12.11, number 2, design standards for MU2, which is what am I trying to say? The dimensional variance. So I just want to put some stuff into evidence to start off with before we get anything from the applicant. A1 is going to be the application for hearing. It's our normal, I think it's 19 pages that they fill out for application. Attached to that, there's also an Exhibit B, which is part of that. That's going to be A1. A2 is going to be the 200-foot radius map that was supplied to us. Actually, let me go back to A1. A1 is the application is for ZBR-21-04, and it has a meeting date of 12/14/2021 on it. A2 is the radius map. It's prepared by Mark Nyberg. The date on it is November of 2021. Mark Nyberg's professional land surveyor number is 1797. A3 will be the abutters list. Everybody should have that. A4 is going to be the warranty deed. A5 will be the site plan. Again, it was prepared by Mark Nyberg, professional land surveyor, number 1797. It has a date of September 2021 on that. A6 is a 2-page document that has 2 pictures on each. It's not dated. There's no title. It's just looks like a picture of the front of the building and the left of the building. 2 pictures on each page, so it's 2-page. A7 is going to be the planning board's opinion on this applicant. We also have 2 emails. So the abutters list did not include, this is on a state highway. When you have an applicant that's on a state highway, you have to notify the Department of Transportation or DOT. I brought to Kerry's attention, he actually sent an email out to the RODOT on Thursday, December 9th, 2021. We're going to submit this as being number T1. So it's basically a letter to the Department of Transportation, and the second page was just the notification of the meeting coming up with the applicant. I also have a T2 email, which is an email that came back from the DOT, basically saying they have received that email from Kerry, and they will be responding to it as soon as they can. That should be it. Do we need to read any of the contents of those in, or is that enough, Kerry? And I guess Steve Archambault. Do I need to read the emails? Steve?
Just clicking the wrong spot here for a second.
That's right.
No, as long as they're entered into the record, you don't have to read them in their entirety. They just become part of the record.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
So those are the 2. Thank you. Those are the 2 records that we have. Those were all the application stuff that was supplied to us as members of the board. So at this point, if the applicant would like to, I don't know if you have a lawyer representing you or if you're representing yourself. I can't see that. So if you want to step to the podium and get sworn in, you can start your presentation.
Yes. Good evening, members of the board, both individually. My name is Lloyd Garvey, that's LLOID, GARICY. Notice at 191 Social Street.
So I'm sorry, I'm having a tough time hearing you. Are you a lawyer or are you the applicant?
I am the attorney for the applicant.
Okay, the attorney? Okay.
Yeah, Scott, if I could interject, maybe we could have the microphone turned up a little bit. I can't hear as well. I've got good hearing. I just can't hear. Maybe Carl can turn the microphone up for the benefit of everybody before we start. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, again, my name is Lloyd Garvey, that's LLOID, last name GARIECY. I'm an attorney with an office at 191 Social Street, alongside Rhode Island, and I'm here representing the applicant. Is everything coming through okay, Mr. Vice Chair?
Yeah, it's still a little muffled, but let's try to get through it.
The application before you tonight requests a dimensional variance and a special use permit with respect to the property located at 229 Quaker Highway. The subject property is located in an MU zone. The application proposes to construct a 42 by 20 addition to the right rear of the existing building to square off the building to provide additional building size sufficient for the installation and operation of an indoor fire shooting range.
The building, the addition would be 28.9 feet, which is 11 feet short of the required 40-foot setback in the rear of the building. The purpose for the addition is to, again, provide the size necessary for the indoor firearm shooting range, and it would also make the building symmetrical. The requested special use permit would be to allow an indoor firearm shooting range, which would be a recreation indoor commercial use that is allowed by the zoning ordinance use chart in an MU2 zone by the grant of a special permit. The zoning ordinance provides that the applicant may apply for and be issued a dimensional variance in conjunction with a special use permit, and that's what we will be doing this evening. The criteria for approval of a special use permit and dimensional variance is different because they are designed to meet two entirely different needs. The statutory standards for variances require a hardship for a dimensional variance, which is more than mere inconvenience. Common example of dimensional variance, as we all know, usually is heard in a residential situation, is a location of a building or part thereof closer to the lot line than the applicable law allows for or provides for. On the other hand, the statutory standard for a special use permit is a particular use that the town council has already determined to be an appropriate use for the district, and it cannot be excluded by a decision of the zoning board unless the standards for the special use permit, which is in section 9.2 of the zoning ordinance, are not satisfied with respect to the establishment of such special use. Therefore, the consideration is the potential impact of the proposed use on the immediate neighborhood and the general public of the town of North Smithfield. With respect to the dimensional variance, the subject lot is significantly irregular in shape. And due to that irregular shape, the building configuration is also
I'm listening to something, what?
I didn't catch that.
Somebody was unmuted. Yeah, okay.
I'll thank you. As we look at the survey that was prepared in connection with the application, we see the frontage to the lot at Quaker Highway is only 78.09 feet, while the real lot is 239 feet, but does not run at a 90-degree angle along the rear lot line, but angles down toward the street. The shape is somewhat like the state of Nevada, except that the rear property line does not go straight across. It takes a turn to the south, and therefore that is the area that we're calling for the addition. The rear lot line, as one looks at it, one has to question how this was determined. When I went out to the site, I made the guess that perhaps the existing topographic features of the rear of the property are something that contributes to the placement of the rear lot line. You see, if you stand in the back of the property, halfway down the lot, there is at least a drop off of 25 feet or more to the adjacent land, and therefore that is what I'm guessing caused the rear lot line to have that specific configuration. The abutting property to the rear and the right side of the property is vacant land, which is also zoned in U2. To the left of our property is an existing commercial use which has been there for a while. The closest residential neighbor is across the street, and he has spoken to the applicant and has in fact and there is one or two other residential properties, one across the street and one probably at a location over about 200 feet down to the right. And the only portion of that lot that is within the 200-foot perimeter is basically the corner of the lot that abuts the MU2 zone. Now, the purpose of setbacks, which becomes important in this consideration, is really in a residential use or in a residential district where something like the commercial or the industrial appliance. It's there to allow better ventilation to the home. So the next door neighbor, if you would reach out the door and the window and shake hands with them, you would perhaps be some improper ventilation between the two structures. Not so in this situation. As I said, in the rear, there is nothing presently there. Better lighting. That would be a residential situation again. Plenty of space around the dwelling to bring in natural light for better visual access. Thirdly, better sound insulation. The building away, if it is noisy, the further it's away, the less the noise impact on the adjoining property. Better services, access in case of fire or emergency. Not the situation here. The access to this property is quite the highway, and there's plenty of room for the fire responders or the medical responders. Better landscaping is usually in a building sense where the building is an office, not the doctor's office. It allows more room for landscaping of the property in the front of the building. Again, in this application, we're not talking about the front, we're talking about the rear. Lastly, the building, if some cataclysmic event happens, an earthquake or something or a fire, the building collapsed. It wouldn't collapse on the next door neighbor's property. That is another reason for the setback. I will submit that all of these are not applicable to the situation this evening. So when we're asking for dimensional variance with respect to the rear setback, the only one that would possibly come into play is better insulation, keeping noise away from the abutting property over to the rear. Secondly, undeveloped. The other one, which is if we have a national disaster, if the building collapsed, it wouldn't collapse on the next door property. If you say that the building is 20 feet high, that's what we have, and that's where you change the height of it. The setback is 28.9 feet. Then you've got a large depression that goes down to the property. So I think building setback has a little bit of a less of an impact on this particular proposal. One other thing that we have, when you consider the special use permit, the property is in a water supply overlay district. My reading of the statute or the zoning ordinance is that it falls under a permitted use because we will not introduce any pollutants or discharge any hazardous materials into the drainage systems of the natural environment there. That'll be supported when we get into a little bit later the testimony of Mr. Shields of Action Target, and I will explain exactly what the witnesses I will be calling on. You see up on the monitor, that is the architect's rendition of the inside of the proposed firearm shooting range. The upper right-hand corner, about halfway down, where there's a little bit further off to the left, is where the addition, the 42 by 20 foot addition would be, making the 75-foot shooting line. The significance of that shooting line will be explained tonight, but just to give away any secrets ahead of time, the state requirement for qualification for a police department and things of that nature is 75 feet. Therefore, this building is designed to be fully compliant with the state requirements for qualification. I'm going to be calling two witnesses this evening. The first witness would be Robert Rhode. Robert is the sole owner of the applicant, and that he owns the subject premises. He bought the premises back in 2015, and you will also give testimony that since that time, the lot lines haven't changed, the building hasn't changed, nothing has changed, so there's no action on his part that can be determined to be contrary to the standards for the award of the variance. He'll detail the operation of the shooting range to support his bid and prove that the use will not adversely affect the immediate neighborhood or be detrimental or injurious to the health and welfare of the community. We want to leave here tonight with you knowing that the way in which the rules and regulations will run will not cause any harm or injury to anybody in the facility. Next would be Mr. Rex Shields. Mr. Shields is the territorial manager of Action Pocket. Action Pocket they'll give you a little background as to what they do, but they're professionals doing these types of ranges. They have ranges that have built and constructed in all states of the continent of the United States, and probably in Hawaii and Alaska. Also, at least 40 countries of the world, and they are leaders in introducing new ideas, new concepts, and new ways to make the shooting range in compliance with all regulations, and also something that will take care of any discharges of any chemical toxins that would perhaps be a problem. Not only will he tell you about that, he will also show you that the retrieval system for these spent ammunition is patented by their firm and is of great significance. All of these metals that you are going to be, that's going to be fired in that particular range are recycled. Nothing goes on into the ground. Everything is handled and shipped or picked up and recycled. In addition to that, sound is also a problem of shooting ranges. Well, not only will all shooters have to wear eye and ear protection, but also the system that they have will describe the material that they use to maintain that the sound in the specific firing range stays there. You won't get the residential property across the street, the traffic in the road will be louder than the sound that would ever get out of that specific structure. Action Target will also design, build, and help to maintain the entire structure. It is a turnkey operation. All the expertise of that firm that has existed for almost 50 years is something that is trusted with them, so we don't go around hiring people who are not familiar, if you will, with the exact qualifications or the stipulations that are necessary to construct and to get shooting range. At this particular point, I'd like to call Mr. Hool to the stand, and Mr. Hool will be telling you about what he has tried to do to establish a shooting range somewhere else around the next door property. He's tried to square up his lot. He's tried to purchase other parcels, and to just get an idea that he wasn't just sitting down waiting to just jump at the first chance to do it by adding on to his building. He was trying to, in fact, locate it in another location in the town, right in the back of the property. And he will also tell you about the steps that he has taken with respect to constructing, preparing plans, making sure that he has sufficient parking spaces, and check off all the other blocks that are set forward in the zoning ordinance, so that the only slight variation that he is looking for the deviation on is for the setback. Any questions? If any of the members have any questions of me before I sit down?
Mr. Chairman, Kerry Anderson speaking. May I make a comment on Mr. Garfi's presentation?
I'm sorry, I just don't know who is speaking right now, please, and I'm hoping that at some point we can please take down the plan so I can see everybody, if that's okay.
Is that you, Chris?
No, I think that's Carrie.
No, Kerry.
Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Garrity mentioned that the site is located in the water supply overlay. It is located in the overlay, however, it is in a industrial commercial exempt location. So the provisions of section 6.19 do not apply in this case.
Yep, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Anderson.
Any board members have any questions? Mr. Garvey so far?
Try to. Mr. Garapi,
Yes, sir.
if, in relation to the schematic that was presently up on the screen, what is the current configuration of the building?
The building is an L-shaped building, and if you, the frontage is the same as you see on that, the final lot. The right side and the left side. The right side is a portion of the L. There is a cutout, and if you look at the survey prepared by Insight, you will see that there's a little cutout of 42 feet along the back of the property and 20 feet to the existing structure. So it's like a rectangle being attached to an L-shaped building in the back. It is in the rear, it's not visible from the street, or probably visible from anywhere, but at the bottom of the hill in the back.
All right, maybe I'll be a little bit more specific with my question. With regard to the, basically one half of the building that's going to constitute the gun range, what is currently there now?
Nothing.
It's just empty space.
That is correct.
It's not used for any commercial activity.
No, it's, the only reason I think there was no building there is because it would have encroached upon the building setback line. And if I were a person trying to develop that lot and just had it subdivided, I would not be looking to, in fact, go to the zoning board because he would have created a hardship.
Okay. With regard to the construction of the building itself, does the state of Rhode Island have any regulations or standards with regards to specifically constructing a firing range? For example, does the walls have to be of a certain substance? How thick does the wall have to be?
The wall is going to be constructed in accordance with the requirements of the town building official. So I'm not, it's not in my skill set, unfortunately, but the construction of that addition has to be in accordance with town standards.
Okay. With regard to the operation of the gun range, there was also talk of having educational classes and also rental of guns at the facility. Is your client responsible for obtaining special permits or licenses to operate the range, to conduct the classes? Do the classes have to, do you need some type of approval or license from the Department of Education? And are there any other requirements that need to be fulfilled? And if the answer is yes, to what extent have they been at least initiated to be fulfilled?
In terms of the instruction in the use of any firearms is really delegated to a person who is certified, if I remember, to do such a thing. We do have one person in the audience that I recognize as being certified. Perhaps if Mr. Houle doesn't cover it in his testimony, which I think he will, we could probably ask that individual, but that's my understanding, that they have to be certified to be teaching firearms. And maybe the firearms, the NTA or whatever it is. But I'm not sure of that.
All right, one final question for me, and I appreciate your patience, and that is, does the, how is this going to be operated? Is this going to be operated as a full, open to the public, for-profit operation? Or is this going to operate primarily as a rod and gun club and what be available to the public?
It's going to answer the first question first, it is going to be membership, but with a semi-public golf course, semi-private golf course. The members get first choice of the time.
Yeah, Lloyd Garrity is representing Uncle Bob. He was.
That's correct.
Chris, did you get your question answered? 'Cause I didn't really pick up what
Yeah, I
you-
think so.
It's going to be members will be have the preference as to scheduling time to use that. There is a walk-in availability, and again, that's strictly on the time the person walks in, whether or not that time has been taken by a member or somebody else that has reserved some time.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Garrity.
Thank you.
Mr. Garrity, I got a quick question for you. Is this whole building empty or just the part where he's putting the lanes is empty?
Presently, Mr. Hool has the gun sales business in that specific. He also has machinery that's left over from when he had a machine shop there, which is going to be removed. So when this is done, the firearm sales business will actually expand a small amount to take care of the wall space. But the rest of it will be dedicated entirely to the firing range and the support area. When I mean the support area, there will be cameras that are placed inside the firing range, and they will be recorded and monitored while there's an operation, so that if something is going amiss, there will be a record of it, and proper authorities can be called, or if it's necessary to have a first responder apply. So it will be on the first floor, it will be the gun shop and the range. On the second floor, which is the mezzanine, there'll be office space, and that's probably where the instructional classes will be given.
Okay. All right. All right, continue.
Mr. Chairman, do you want to swear Mr. Hoolan or have the stenographer?
Yes, please. I can't see him, so.
Oh, okay.
I can swear him in if you'd like.
Oh, thank you, Heather.
You're welcome. Sir, do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give in this matter shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Right into the microphone, please, sir. If you could
Yes, I
please.
do.
Thank you. Your name for the record, sir.
My name is Robert Hool,
Spelling of your last name, sir.
Houle.
Thank you very much. And if you could keep your voice up nice and loud, that would be great. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, all right, I am the owner of the applicant, RTM Realty. I own the property since July 13, 2015. Right now, I currently have a machine shop there. I have, and FTR guns and ammo. I am the owner of the gun shop, I'm the sole owner. What prompted me to starting the shooting range is every day I get customers that come in that buy guns, and they ask me for a place to shoot. They mentioned the places to shoot are too far away, they're over an hour away from our area, and also there's places in Massachusetts where they do not like to go to Massachusetts, because the laws are so different. So it's here to go to Massachusetts. So I'm looking to create a gun range there, indoor range, 13 lanes, classes, classrooms. I have NRA certified instructors. I have 3 or 4 people that want to shoot that are licensed and certified. I had before tried to purchase a piece of land at the back of my property to put a building up and do something over there. I approached the owner of the property back in February of this year, of last year, and he had given me a plan on the building, I mean the lot, and I reviewed it, and I also sent, I had a guy stop around the Duke of Florida, go and look at the land and did a wetlands testing of the thing. He did a report, it cost me $750. I went back to the owner of the property, we had a price set, and when I went back, the owner had gone up almost $1,000 on a piece of property. Then I approached the owner looking to buy just a partial of that property. So I'm going to have to go with the variance, the dimensional variance. He came back with a piece of land that wasn't even, was all the way to the corner where I didn't really need it. And a half acre, he was at 125,000, which I thought was kind of ridiculous. So then I gave it some thought, and I said, well, why don't I do it in the building I have? I mean, everybody comes there, everybody knows I'm there, I'm kind of getting situated there, get known. So then I pursued that. I went to visited some ranges, I went up to New Hampshire, I went to Drake, Mass, looked at some ranges, action targets, did those jobs. And then from there, I got in touch with Action Target, a guy by the name of Rex Shields, this year tonight in Utah, for a presentation on, and we went back and forth. So Rex has been working with me to design the range. In the meantime, I hired a architect, a guy by the name of Harlequin from Woonsocket, and he has done some rough drawings. And I got Insight Engineering involved in the land layout of the building, which was submitted to the zoning board this application. I approached Insight, checked how many parking spots and everything. We have like 39 parking spots in the area. I approached the neighbor next door, guy across the street, and he has no problems with the range. Yes, I did. I approached you, it was against Titus, you work at Titus for that.
I'm sorry,
Yeah,
who's
but
asking?
whoever's, right now, if there's members from the public that are talking, you'll have a chance to talk, so we can't hear you on the phone, so just let this gentleman finish his presentation, and then when it's time for the public to speak, you'll have an opportunity to speak.
Thank you.
No,
As far as, I'm looking to do yearly memberships, and by the hour, I mean, we're gonna have classes, we're gonna have, instructional classes, safety classes, we're gonna have rules and regulations that will be in there, there'll be cameras in the range, the hours of operation, we're looking probably 9 to 9, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, 9 to 10 on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, and Sunday, 9 to 7. I get plenty of parking. Everything's gonna be insulated, soundproof. The ventilation system is gonna be, the air is gonna be clean as one out in the air center. There's gonna be nothing going into the ground, no lead. There's gonna be a steel trap. Anybody else, any questions?
I'll wait till the rest of it's given before I ask you questions. But, I got two quick ones for you. Based on the deed, you are the owner of this building now, correctly? Correct?
Yes, I am.
And you didn't build this building, you purchased this building, correct?
I purchased the building, right.
Okay.
I
Okay,
purchased the building in 2015, July 13th, 2015.
okay, that's it for now. Do you have another person to present? Anybody else on the board have a question?
No.
I can swear the witness in if you'd like.
Yes,
Thank you. Sir, do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give in this matter shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth to help you God?
I do.
Thank you, sir. Your full name for the record, please?
Rex Shields,
Shields.
Shields.
Thank you, sir.
Proceed.
Thank you. As stated, my name is Rex Shields. I work for Action Target. Just provide you a little bit of background about Action Target. We are a manufacturer and seller of shooting range equipment. We are based in Utah. We're out here for this meeting. We've been in business for a long time, many years. We built thousands of shooting ranges around the world. As I stated, all 50 states, more than 40 countries. The markets that we serve are the military and law enforcement market. We build training facilities for them, as well as the commercial market, as we were discussing here. If I may, I brought a few books to pass to the board, those that are here, just to show you what the ranges look like, just make examples. These, when you have time, you can flip through them. They show what the ranges look like, where some of them are located, who we have built them for. Just to tell you a little bit about the work we've done locally, a few of the ranges that we have built in Rhode Island include the Rhode Island State Police Range, Johnston Police Department, range for East Greenwich Police Department. We built a range for the Naval Station in Newport, as well as the Naval Station just across the state line in New London, Connecticut. We did a range for Mid-State Gun Company in Coventry, a indoor gun range in South Kingston, the Connect River Outfitters in Tiverton, and those are just a few of the examples. I have worked with Bob Wool for quite a while now in the design of this range, and I can confirm to you that it is designed up to the most safe and most modern standards. And I can answer any questions you may have about the range.
I have a few. The ventilation system, is every single one going to have a blown out system or
Yeah, the ventilation system is really specialized. It's unlike any house or office building type system you've ever seen. So when you ask everyone, does every shooting lane have its own system? No, the entire range will have its own system. And it's independent, separated from the rest of the building. We will provide that system. And the way, just to give you a little bit more details about the way it works and the way it's designed, we are moving a very large amount of air in the range. The system is called a laminar airflow. It moves the air at a speed of 75 feet per minute downrange away from the shooter. What this means in layman terms is that all the air inside the range is exchanged every
Every what? What was that?
60 seconds.
15 seconds?
Every 60 seconds, all the air within that range is exchanged.
Yep.
When it
50
leaves
seconds.
range, it passes through a series of filters, through a filter bank. The final filter is a HEPA filter, which is a filter that they use in hospitals and operating rooms to ensure that, there's clean air, patients are breathing clean air. So what this means is that when the air leaves the range, hospital-grade air is going back into the city. Essentially, it's oxygenated. The air leaving the range is cleaner than the air that came into the range.
There's a special filter for the lead emissions.
Yeah, there's multiple filters, but that HEPA filter is specialized for that, exactly.
And what size of the concrete ceilings? Are you gonna have concrete ceilings?
No, there's going to be steel on the ceiling.
Steel?
Yeah, so I can provide you a little bit more info about the building. The concrete, the walls are going to be concrete, 8 inches thick, and there's going to be armored steel lining the ceiling. On the face of the steel, we put sound abatement panels and on the wall as well.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
I'm sorry, may I just understand who was asking the questions just
Gail,
then?
no?
Was that
Gail,
Gail? Was that Gail? Was that you, Gail, that asked that question? Gail Denomi?
yes, Gail Denomi?
Okay.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Will any shots be able to be heard from outside the building?
What was that question?
You can repeat that.
Will any shots be able to be heard from outside the building?
So we do a lot to contain the sound. And so it could be possible to hear something outside, but let me explain the way it's constructed and how we contain the sound. Essentially, Bob is going to be we are building a building within the existing building, the concrete, basically the concrete box that I mentioned. That's one inside the existing building. So that concrete does a lot to contain the sound. And it's a building within a building, and so that alone contains the sound enough. However, in addition to that, we are going to be lining the walls inside the range with sound abatement panels. These panels have an NRP rating of 0.95. I know that what that means in terms of just really high sound abatement. So reduce the sound reverberation in that range. When you're standing outside the building, well, this is the way we design every range, build every range. When done correctly, when you're standing outside, the ambient noise from the cars passing by in the street is louder than anything that you may hear coming from that range.
I have another question. Gail Denomi? Where are the trash containers now? And another question, is there a separate container for the cleaning fluids that you're cleaning guns with? Where is that also being deposited?
That's going to probably have to be answered by Bob. I don't know where the trash containers are now, but I can talk to, maybe it might help a little bit with where you're thinking is where the round's going to be contained.
Correct.
So we build a bullet trap inside the range that collects and contains all of the rounds into a series of 20-gallon drums. They're sealed containers. And so when the rounds enter the trap, they're just inside those sealed containers, and it's designed in such a way that the employee never even have to touch that metal. Those containers, those drums will go up a couple times a year. When that happens, they unhook the drums and they put a lid on it, cap it. Once again, they never have to touch it. We send a truck out to the facility. They're loaded onto the truck and they're shipped off for recycling. So no one ever has touched it, ever exposed, and that's the way that the lead is removed and recycled.
Okay.
Does that answer your question?
That does. Another question, is there a separate container? So I'll redo your cleaning fluids when you're done with cleaning guns.
The cleaning fluids, mostly what's used for the guns is it's a solvent that, sprayed on and is wiped off. And so those wipes aren't, they don't have lead on them, they're not hazardous. And so those are just disposed of normally, but I can't speak, I can only speak to, what's happening inside the range, not the cleaning of the guns, if that makes sense.
Well, see, that's what I'm concerned about, is that you have the refuse area with the trash containers, and if you're only cleaning your guns and you're only gonna throw them away, the solvent and the, rag to clean the gun, where is that going? We mentioned that 6.19 doesn't, exist in this area, but it really does. We have an aquifer, and I really would like to know if there's any solvent that's gonna go in anywhere near.
Good question. We, offer a hazardous waste disposal service that Target does. And what, if Bob were to use that service, all of the chemicals are put into containers, and when we come pick up the drums that are full of the bullets, those containers can be picked up as well. They are taken to be disposed of, and the program, the disposal service is all EPA and OSHA compliant. And so we provide Bob the paperwork to show where those are taken. I can't speak to where those are getting taken in this area, but I can guarantee you it's all EPA and OSHA compliant. But the point is that they need to be sealed in containers.
Correct, and that's what I was wondering, where they're going to be located, inside or outside?
Oh, everything needs to stay inside.
Inside?
Until the truck shows up on site and they're loaded on.
Okay. The old building shows many garage doors. Are you going to be taking the garage doors out, and it's going to be?
To the front for people, the front of the building is not even, those are going to happen in the top mezzanine.
Side.
Who's speaking right now? Who's answering that question?
Robert, who were you talking?
Thank you.
The garage doors.
Yes, the garage doors, there's two in front of the building, which are gonna be staying there. We're gonna be adding windows to the top mezzanine where the office is gonna be. The doors on the side of the building will be coming out, there's two doors on the side and one door in the back. Those will be old ones also.
Thank you.
That it, Gail?
That's it, thank you, Scott.
You're welcome. So I got a couple of questions, or I guess comments. So you talked about the filtration system, having pre and post filters. You said that all the air inside that building pretty much gets recycled within 50 seconds, every 50 seconds. So the filtration system pushes air from the inside to the outside. And I believe what I heard from you was that the air that gets pushed out of that building is cleaner than the air that was inside that building before any shooting started, correct?
It's cleaner, that's correct. It's cleaner than the air that comes into the range in the first place. So the way the system works, it draws air from the outside of the building, pushes it down range, and then it's exhausted. And before it goes back into the atmosphere when it's passed through those filters and cleaned.
So would it be safe to say that there is no odor coming out of that building because of the filtration system that's in it?
Absolutely correct. There will be no odor.
Okay, and to talk about the pre and post filters and the disposal of those, Gail touched on that a little bit. So basically, obviously, as you know, lead is, a hazard, and we can't be throwing stuff like that in the dumpsters. So I was wondering what federal and state laws you must follow for disposal of these filters and cleaning of the backstop. So I actually belong to a gun range, and we actually put a range in within the last 8 years, so I'm kind of familiar with this. So when I heard it is you bring a company in to clean the backstop, they pull all the media out, they pull the lead out, they put the media back on, and add any media that they need. Now you also have these pre and post filters that are around in between those cleanings. So what do you do with those pre and post filters between the cleanings before they come to pick up the backstop and those pre-filters? Are you putting them in a special bag, putting labels on it? When they show up, are they spraying a chemical on that to encapsulate the lead and then take that away when they take away the backstop? And the whole underlying question is there any hazardous material leaving that building?
Yeah, you seem to know a lot already. I think you know what you're talking about. Hopefully I'll answer all of your questions there. First, you mentioned we send out a company to do this. That's not true. We actually do that. We are the company Action Target. So we offer this hazardous waste disposal service that filters or any cleaning supplies or chemicals that need to be disposed of. We provide both containers and bags. Now, you mentioned the bags and the filters. The filters are really large, and so the bags are specially designed to hold these contaminated filters. And so if they're not ready for disposal, if they're being stored in these bags. Whenever we come to the facility, pick them up, they should be transferred from the inside out to the truck, and they are taken to be disposed of. The metals are all recycled. It's only the hazardous waste that's disposed. You mentioned regulations. I think the regulations that are out there for this thing are all by the EPA and OSHA, and our program, hazardous waste disposal program, not only meets the regulations, but it exceeds them.
So that, after hearing that, it's safe to say that the only hazardous material that's leaving that building is material that is contained to not contaminate anything when it leaves that building.
Yeah, it's all 100% contained.
Yep. You talked about noise. So I barely heard some of that. Sounds like you're doing 8 inches of concrete, and then you're putting a panel on the wall and the ceiling to bring the noise down, or just the walls?
No, you're correct. The walls and the ceiling indicate to be concrete. That's correct.
And then did I hear that there's going to be ballistic or AR steel, ballistic steel that'll be hanging from the ceiling so that, you know, a round can't leave through the roof of that building the way that you design that?
That's absolutely correct. And not only won't leave, but the steel is angled in such a way that it will redirect all rounds into the bullet trap.
Yep. So what type of firearms are you going to allow to be handled in there? You know, handguns and/or rifles and/or shotguns and/or black powder. Do you guys have any restrictions on what you're going to allow in there for actual firearms?
I can only speak to what the range equipment can handle. Since I'm not operating it, I'm not going to be the one, allowing what's going to be shot in the range, and Paul can speak to that. But as far as what the equipment can handle, it can handle any caliber up to and including 50 BMG. What it can't handle, or I guess it can, but it limits the lifespan of the equipment, are armor-piercing rounds or steel core rounds. Those things should not be allowed into the range.
Yep, that's kind of where I was going. That's kind of where I was going with that. Okay. So that fixes me with the ammo, with the no armor piercing. We already talked about the state and dealing with lead. What else do I have here? Are you adding any new lighting on the exterior of the building or in the parking lot?
There may be a few more lights that are added outside, the lighting with the parking.
Okay.
And they've got the floodlights out there right now, but we may add some more outside.
Just for the record, that's Mr. Hull speaking again.
Yes.
So I know a lot of times when we get exterior lighting put up, I forgot the terminology we use for it, but we try to keep the light contained on the property. There's a word for it. If one of the board members can tell me what that word is, but, the light that you're gonna be adding, is it a lighting that will not, leave the property?
Yeah, we'll not affect the neighbors. It'll be
Yeah.
in the parking lot. For the
Okay.
customers, you know.
Okay. In relation to utilities, so I can see you got sewer coming into this building, obviously, electrical power, looks like you're on a well. Are you gonna be upgrading any of the utilities, either sewer or the electrical coming into the building while doing this
No,
project?
it's not necessary. As far as the well water, we'll probably be using less water than we did. And as far as electrical, there's plenty of electrical there.
Okay.
I had a machine shop there.
Okay. What else do I have? How much traffic comes in and out of that area today, and what do you anticipate for the increase? Now, you've got 13 lanes. What's your math on the 13 lanes? Is that 13 lanes is 13 people, which means 13 cars, or 13 lanes mean that, you know, there may be 2 people to a lane because, you know, they're sharing a lane? Is there gonna be a limit inside that building of how many people can be there at any one given time? And are your plans to allow that, to allow all 13 lanes to be operational at the same time?
Yes, I mean, all 13 lanes will be able to be operated at the same time. The most we'll have at a lane is 2 people. One person will be, you know, shooting, and then the other one would be behind the fire line.
And so, you know, from what I heard is you're setting it up as a club where people would pay a fee to be a member, which means they can come in and shoot whenever they want to shoot. But you also talked about possibly the public coming in. Are you planning on having RSOs that are in that range during the whole time that it's open, or RSOs only when the public is in there, or no RSOs in there at all?
No, there'll be a couple of range officers in there for the lanes. Also, there'll be cameras that'll be monitored on the front counter.
Okay. So how many people are we talking inside that building in comparison to what you have now? I mean, it sounds like there's not much traffic going in there now. Seeing on the majority of the building's empty, and pretty much all you have is a machine shop, which I think you said you're not doing much with anymore. And then you have the sales for the gun sales. Do you see that the traffic is gonna, you know, tenfold? Is it gonna quadruple? What do you see the traffic being in that? Or do you see it more spread out?
No, it probably won't be much more than the customers coming in right now. I mean,
Okay.
they come in all during the day when we're open.
Okay. For additional signing, are you gonna do any additional signing on the building or on the street or anything like that?
Yes, I may put a sign on the building itself. I do have
On the building?
on the street.
I'm sorry, did you say you're gonna put one on the building and the street, or just the building?
No, I have one on the street right now, but I might put one on the building. Correct.
Okay. How do you determine how long you go between cleanings? Is it based on a round count? Is it based on length of time, like weeks or months or years? How are you gonna determine when something is gonna get the backstop's gonna get cleaned?
This is Rick with Action Target again. We provide Bob a maintenance schedule that tells him how often they need to clean.
Is it based on count on bullet count, or is it based on a length of time?
It's based on a length of time. So each type of equipment has a different cleaning protocol, and we take basically the worst case scenario of volume and round count, and then take that and basically turn that into a time so that they're not needing to keep track of all the rounds being shot in the range. It's every day they need to do this, every week they need to do this, every month, and so on. Does that make sense?
Yep. Only a couple more questions here. So one of the special use permit tenants is any additions of yards or open space. I don't believe you're doing any yards or open space with this project, correct?
What is that again, please?
One of the tenants is any additions of yards or open space? So are you adding any yards or open space on the exterior of the building related?
No, I'm not doing anything outside.
Okay. And also, in buffering. So, you know, looking at your exhibit B, you talked about, there's a mature tree line provided for sufficient screening and buffering, both on the back of the building and on the side of the building. Is that true?
Yes, it is.
And is that, what type of trees are that? Is that like, you know, trees that lose their?
Most of them are oak trees.
What's
Is
that?
what you want?
Yeah, is it like pine trees, arborvitae's, like what?
Mostly oak,
Both?
oak trees.
Oak trees?
Oak trees. No, we asked him?
Yeah. So your mature trees are the oaks, which have a high canopy, but at the eye level, you don't really have any buffering at the eye level, right? Because you have a canopy above you. If you're talking about oak trees and maple trees, right? There's no green, you know, evergreen type trees.
Oh, there is also evergreens there.
There are? Okay. Okay, that's enough for my questions for now. Thank you. You have anything else to present, or are you guys, are the applicant good with their presentation?
That concludes the testimony of all the witnesses I have, which is right there. If in fact you want to open it up to the public, we'd like to do that. I would just ask that at the conclusion of all the public testimony, you give me an opportunity to wrap up the matter and make any closing comments.
Yep, not a problem. Before we open it up to the public, is there anybody else on the board at this juncture that wants to ask any more questions, or are we good?
I just have one more question, Gabrielle. As far as the traffic impact study, I know that you have memberships that are going to, how long do you shoot your pistol range? Is it an hour, or do you have all day? How long do you usually shoot in a pistol range? So how many people, you can have 13 lanes. If you're in the shooting range for 2 hours, then you can have an influx of a lot of people, knowing that you have a lot of, you're the only one here now besides Waltham, besides Manuel or Cumberland. So you might get your people, your customers now, but then you also said that there's a lot of people that really want to come to this place. So my question is, you have 13 lanes, how often do you change in between lanes?
They're gonna be limited to probably an hour and a half.
Okay, an hour and a half, and you're open how long?
From say 9 to 10, 9 in the morning to 10 at night.
Okay, so you're gonna get an influx of people, so do you have enough parking spaces for these?
I have 39 parking places, plus next door, I have additional parking that they let me use. Also, they're gonna have to reserve their time, so it's not like they're gonna be there all the time, you know what I mean?
Okay, so
They're
you're
gonna
gonna
be able
have
to
to
reserve
call.
their time online ahead of time. If they wanna go shoot tomorrow 9 to 10, they're gonna reserve it ahead. So you're not gonna have all those people there at the same time, you know what I mean?
Okay, thank you.
Does that answer?
Yes, thank you very much.
If I could just keep Mr. Hool for a half a question, could he just, Mr. Hool, could you just clarify what you mean by you have additional space across the street? Do you have an arrangement with another private owner, or do you own property that's immediately contiguous to this piece of property?
I don't get that question. You said about land or property across the street, you said?
Well, you said if for whatever reason the parking lot was full,
Oh,
I have additional capacity across the street.
yeah, no, it's in the same parking lot. It's the building next door. I talked to the owner, I checked with him, and he said it is not a problem.
And how long has he owned his property?
He's owned his property probably, for a few years now.
Okay,
I
all
mean,
right,
we-
thank you.
Same parking lot, you know what I mean? Does that answer the question?
Yes, thank
Okay,
you.
thank you.
I have one more question, I'm sorry.
Is that Gail?
This is Gail.
Okay.
Propane tank. There was a propane tank in the back maybe a few years ago, I thought it a long way. Do you have any other propane tanks near the building?
I think the probably propane tank you're referring to is the RV place is there?
Okay,
The fill station?
right.
Yeah.
Is that still there or?
No,
That's gone? Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Hooley, I have one more question. Looking at, exhibit, A5, which is your site plan, when I'm looking at the building sitting on the lot, the configuration of your lanes are gonna go with your back to the street towards the back of your property? Is that the configuration of that building, of how you're gonna configure it?
What do you mean, how they're gonna be shooting, you mean?
Yeah, the direction they're gonna shoot.
Yeah, they're gonna be shooting, actually, looking at the front of the building, you're gonna be shooting from the left side of the building to the right-hand side of the building. The steel traffic is located.
So you're
on the-
shooting towards the vacant lot in the back, or you're shooting towards the, DOT?
No, towards the vacant lot in the back.
Towards the vacant lot back, okay, okay, thank you.
Yep.
Anybody, any other board members have any questions? Okay, not hearing any. Anybody from the public can come up and speak. If you are gonna come up to speak, please state your full name, and your address and be sworn in. And, any questions that you have of the applicant, just drive that through me, the chairman. So you would ask the chairman the question, and then I would ask the applicant the question, and the applicant can respond. Is there anybody from the public that would like to speak?
There's someone at the podium now, Mr. Chairman.
at the podium now.
And they need to be sworn in, right? Or not? Steve, do they need to be sworn in or not?
I choose to be sworn in.
Yeah, they should absolutely be sworn in, each witness.
Okay. So just state your full name, first and last name, and your address, and Heather will turn around and swear you in.
My name is Richard Savaria, Savaria. I reside at 108 Sales Hill Road.
Okay, sir, Mr. Farrier, do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give in this matter shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do, ma'am.
Thank you, and it is Mr. Farrier?
Ma'am, I'm having a little hard time hearing you.
Mr. Farrier?
I did Savaria.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
You can proceed, Mr. Ferrier.
Thank you. As a shooting enthusiast, I am looking forward to having a safe and lawful shooting facility in the town of North Smithfield, such as the one MTR Guns Ammo is proposing to establish. Also, in this proposal are the construction of numerous classrooms. As an MMA firearms instructor, I'll be looking forward to instructing a lawful and safe use of firearms in this new state-of-the-art facility. As a resident of North Smithfield for over 38 years, I welcome and support such a facility in my community. Thank you for allowing me to speak.
Thank you. Is there any other members of the public that would like to speak? Please step up to the podium.
There is.
Just please state your first and last name and your address, and Ms. Finger will swear you in.
My name is Stephen Woke. I live at 131 Cider Hill Road, North Smithfield. I've been a resident of the town for 65 years.
Did you get that, Heather?
I did not. I was frozen for a moment. May I please have your name again for the record, please? I'm so sorry.
My name is Stephen Woke. I live at I'll see you spelling, W-O-W-K. I live at 131 Cider Hill Road in North Smithfield.
Thank you, sir. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give in this matter shall be the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, proceed.
In 2014, the Seattle Times released a plan or an article, a series of articles called Loaded with Lead. In it, one of the most important quotes that I saw from Dr. Elena Page of the National Institute for Occupational Safety and Health was that lead exposure at gun ranges is a serious problem and we think could be quite widespread. I've looked at the plan for this and how the bullets are collected, and it's quite safe. However, I don't see in there how the dust is collected. The dust, although is collected at where the bullets land, and there is pressure coming toward that. But it is lead that is coming out when these guns are discharged. These guns, when they are discharged, there is a hammer that strikes the firing pin. Lead is discharged there as well as gunpowder. Then the bullet is discharged from the barrel. Lead is also discharged then. And also when the casing is ejected, then more lead is discharged. I didn't hear Mr. Shields describe how that lead is going to be collected, other than saying it's going to be pressure taking it toward their collection system. Now, the collection system itself is quite extensive, which I've read. I believe they call it, bear with me a moment. They call it their dust collection unit, in fact. There are filters in that unit, including they have a filter. Those filters have to be changed. The owner of the facility is either contracting with someone to take that out, or he could take that out himself, or he could leave it there. Mr. Shields did not say, he said if he contracts with them, they will come and remove those filters. He didn't say there is a signed contract if this goes through. If he does not have a contract, then Mr. Shields' company will walk away. He's no longer responsible for taking those filters out, from what I heard, because he said if.
So is that your question?
That is a question, yes, that is a question for Mr. Shields and for Robert also, if there is a contract in hand at this time.
So, Mr. Shields, can you address how you control the lead of the ejected cartridges coming out? And can you explain to this gentleman how the cleaning of the lead in that building is regulated by the EPA, the feds, and the state?
Yeah, to address the question by this gentleman, if we are going to be contracted, well, I guess the question is there a contract in place? No, because this is not yet approved. Once it does, if it does get approved, then that's the time to talk contracts and work out those details. Let me see if I can remember the question. So, how is the lead dust handled? I mentioned earlier the maintenance schedule that Bob will have to provide to Bob on when to clean certain things on certain days. Lead dust is an issue in shooting ranges. And the quote that was read by the Seattle Times, I agree with that. Gun ranges historically have been a problem for lead, but those aren't the ranges designed and built by Action Target. Historically, indoor shooting ranges, you may be familiar with these, are in a basement, dark, dirty, not well maintained, not safe. These aren't the ranges built by Action Target. As you can see from the books that I handed out, the purpose of that was to show you what these look like. To get back to the point of lead dust, there will be lead dust on the ground, as happens when you shoot a gun. Every week, if you're following the maintenance schedule properly, the owner of the range will be HEPA vacuuming the floor. It's a special vacuum built for this purpose, for lead, called a HEPA vacuum. It's a push vacuum that you push all around the floor and it cleans the lead. Doing this, along with all the other maintenance protocols we will have, you will absolutely not have a problem with lead for any of the employees or the shooters inside the range.
Mr. Shields, can I ask you a quick question?
Yes,
Maybe it's a statement, I don't know. That filtration system that you're putting in works on negative pressure, correct? That's how you push all that air out of that building?
that's correct. Yep.
And is it also safe to say that if you don't have negative pressure, that system will not operate and they will not be able to shoot in that range because the system will not be activated?
That's correct. If there is like a fault with the system, it shuts down and you cannot even use the range.
So if the filters get clogged because they're not being maintained, the system will not fire up and they will not be able to shoot inside that range.
Yep, and it automatically, if it happens while it's up and running, it automatically shuts down.
Yep. Okay. Does that answer the gentleman's question?
It does answer the question, thank you.
Okay. Continue.
The other thing I also found out is, Mr. Shields mentioned OSHA. When the Seattle Times did their report, they checked on 6,000 commercial indoor and outdoor gun ranges in this country, where over a 10-year period, only 200 of them had been inspected by OSHA. 86% of those were found in violation, at least one violation. Some had as many as 20. They don't even go to a facility unless an employee reports to them a blood disorder, a disorder in their blood test due to lead poisoning. They don't normally inspect these places. No one will be inspecting these places. We're opening ourselves up to another hazard. I am a gun owner, and I am not against the gun range. However, I don't feel that the technology is ready yet. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Is there any other members from the public that would like to speak? Please step to the podium. Again, I ask you to say your first and last name and where you live and get sworn in by Ms. Finger.
My name is Keith LeClaire. I live at 165 Quaker Highway on the side of the proposed gun range.
Sir, would you please raise your right hand? You solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give in this matter shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth to help you God.
I do.
Thank you very much.
I'd just like to start off by apologizing for my outburst. I'm a little emotional with this proposal to have a gun range on the side of my home. My family has been resided at 165 Quaker Highway since 1924. My son is the 5th generation to be raised in that home. Bob approached me May 10th when I was working on his vehicle at the automobile facility place that I've been employed at for the last 22 years. He had ordered some tires for his truck and wanted me to order them for him, some specialty tires. So I went ahead and did that, and I've done business with Bob. Anyway, on that particular day, Bob approached me and asked me if I would have any problem with him trying to purchase a piece of land behind his building, which he spoke of, to operate an indoor gun range. My answer was 100% I would have a problem with it. I said I did not want the pollution to come with it from the lead and the sulfur that he's not going to be able to contain. There's no way he's going to be able to contain all of this, no matter what type of smoke and mirrors they throw at you today. He's not going to be able to contain all the lead. There's going to be lead leaving on people's feet. What happens to the mop water from the floor? Who's checking on the filters? Is it Bob? OSHA's not going to be involved. I just heard that. Wetlands behind, heard you, Mr. Jones mention that. It's all a concern for me. My property line is 80 yards away from his building. Now, you won't hear Bob mention anything about me today. He mentions the people across the street from his facility. I believe their home is a little further than, away than my home is. I heard him talk about, oak trees and a buffer zone. All that buffer zone, 90% of that buffer zone has been torn down. They just built a new access road right on the side of his building to access the property behind his building, which is for sale. They want to get some access back there for potential buyers. There's almost no buffer. There are no evergreen trees, although he says there are. There's no evergreen trees. I walk out into my yard, his building is in plain sight. I'm very concerned about all of this, as would any of you if it was being built on the side of your home. I'm not against guns. I own quite a few. I'm not against anybody going to indoor shooting ranges. This isn't the right place for a shooting range, on the side of a residency. Bob doesn't have the best track record up there either. He moved in 5 years ago, 6 years ago. The police have been called multiple times from shots being fired up there behind the building. Check the police records. It's all on the police records. He had 2 tenants up there in that building. One, his son. 2, Empire Motorsports, which was a bike shop. Police have been called multiple times for speeding up and down the road. Motorcycles being driven around till 8, 9 o'clock at night in the parking lot. 2-stroke dirt bikes. We have to listen to it all the time. Bob doesn't do anything about it. And the reason I say that is because Bob leaves his place at 7:30, 8 o'clock at night. I see him drive by my home. He's a hard worker. He's there a lot. But not once does he slow the people down in the parking lot and driving with a motorbike. The people next door that he talks about that don't have a problem, I spoke to them a month ago. They told me on multiple occasions they have to go over and talk to Bob about the people speeding around in the parking lot. They have 2 young kids that can't go to sleep because the motorcycles are being driven around. The little Japanese cars with the big exhaust on them, racing up and down the road. I had to go and talk to the son. I had to go and talk to the bike shop. Bob doesn't take the initiative to do any of this. I went and spoke to Bob. Bob says, "Oh, that's not me, that's the guys over there." Well, great, but you're their landlord. They're renting from you. This is your property. So to get back to the conversation I had May 10th, Bob asked me if I was opposed to this ordinance, and I said 100%, absolutely I'm opposed. I'm opposed to the toxins that are going to come out of it. I have a well, as does everybody else on my street. I'm opposed to the noise that's going to come from it. He said, "Well, you won't hear any noise." I said, "Well, can you guarantee that, Bob? Can you guarantee I'm not going to hear any noise?" I noticed the gentleman here from Action Target, Mr. Shields, tiptoe around that question. He wanted to talk about a construction inside of a construction. I didn't hear an answer from him saying, "I won't hear any gunshots outside that building." Will I be hearing gunshots while I'm sitting up on my pool after work? Will my family be hearing gunshots through the windows? We're going to have any accidental discharges in the parking lot from somebody showing their buddy their gun. "Hey, check out the new gun I just bought." And then we got the traffic issues. Multiple times over the last 5 years, 6 years, 7 years, I call the police department about people speeding by my house. They come off of 146, they come out of Mass, they fly by the house 60, 70 miles an hour. Multiple calls. Can you please send somebody up to slow the traffic down? Sir, I wish we could. We don't have enough officers on it. Talk to the town administrator and give me the same answer. Now, Bob wants to say there's going to be no traffic increases on the road. There's people in my shop all day long. There's never more than 5 or 6 cars in that parking lot during the day. He's going to have 13 shooting lanes. 2 people per shooting lane. Is that what I heard? Okay. Let's do the math. If they don't travel in the same car, there's 26 cars. Now you got people coming in to buy ammo, to buy guns. it's definitely gonna be an impact on traffic, on an already overly trafficked road. There's nothing good about this. Who benefits from it besides Bob? People here that want to shoot their guns indoors? I'd like to shoot my gun indoors too. Would you want it in any of you people, would you want it in your backyard? Would you want it on the side of your home, falling lead towards your home? You got northerly wind comes out of that area all the time, pushing the wind right to my house. So proposed shooting lanes, left or right, where do you think they're shooting towards? My home. So when Bob asked me that question on May 10th, I said, Bob, 100% absolutely not. I'm concerned about a lot of things. Bob laughed. He said, how about I give you a lifetime membership for free? You remember that conversation, Bob? Now, he was just up here on the road. Said he talked to the neighbors, none of the neighbors had a problem with it. He knows I have a problem with it. We talked about it. Valley Breeze, I got copies for you. So they interviewed Bob. He's a law firm, not mine. I quote, I talked to my neighbors. My neighbors don't have a problem with it. I have plenty of parking. There are no houses really in the area. There's a wooded area next door and an empty lot in the back. Bob, do you see my house every time you go to work? That justifies a house in the area? How about the neighbors across the street with 2 little boys on the tent? Here's another quote from the article. I have over 300 people who want to join right now, and that's not even putting it out there. What's that going to do for traffic in front of my house? They buy a gun and ask, where can I go shoot? Why don't you go to Coventry? They've got an indoor gun range in an industrial area where it belongs. Mr. Fontaine from the planning board, who put this through, stated his words. Him and his son are part of a club, and he often goes with him as a guest, but he doesn't like driving all the way to Coventry in the wintertime. Well, boo-hoo. He says, I think it's a great idea. You're not doing any impact. No impact. No lead impact, no sulfur impact, no impact for traffic by my street, no possible discharges, no impact. You're just tucking it away, says Mr. Fournier, tucking it away in the corner of your building. I think it's a great concept. For who? The residents of this town? By show of hands, all the people here in support, how many of you live here in North Smithfield? How many of you live near Bob's gun range? Wow, one. Mr. Wolf, thank you for coming. Mr. Wolf, do you want a gun range across the street from your home? 60-year town resident, 49-year town resident, with a family that's been in my home since 1924. This is a good concept. Now Bob's all layered up, he's ready to roll. Got his money invested. Got a little specialist here from the Gun Range Society, whatever the hell he's from. This does not belong in a residential area, period. Now you people on the zoning board, you're here to help businesses get going, get zoning up to par. You're also here to protect the residents of this town. That's your job. I've got a well. You know what I mean? Do you ever realize what that is? Yeah, you do. I'm glad. Yeah. You know what lead does to a well? Yeah.
Excuse me, sir, can you just state testimonial fact, and please don't ask members in the audience questions?
Yes. Well, I'm gonna wrap it up here. I don't want this on the side of my home. It's no business here. Got no business there, residential area. There's gonna be toxins, they cannot contain all the lead that's coming out of there. They're gonna sweep the floors, they're gonna put it in the barrel, it's gonna end up in the dumpster, it's gonna go out the rot hole in the bottom of the dumpster, and it's gonna seep into the well. You're shaking your head no, it's gonna happen. You can't stop it, you probably won't even be there. Nor will you care, you'll be on your way. This is all about money. Ammo sales, gun sales. It's sad, it really is, it's sad. And I hope the zoning board does something to stop this. You know, I hope Bob succeeds in his gun range. I just hope he finds an area suited for it, because it's not Quaker Highway. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Does any board members have questions of the witness? Okay.
I do. Gabrielle. Did you go to the planning board meeting?
You know, I was unaware it was happening.
How did you find out about this?
So I'm a service manager at a local garage, a 10-bay facility. One of my mechanics has been with us for about 45 years. Brought it to my attention. And I found out about it when I read the article. After I pulled it up online, he said, "Did you read the article in the paper about the gun range?" That's how I found out about it.
Thank you.
Any other members? Questions for the witness? Is there any other members from the public that would like to speak?
Mr. Chairman, there's a gentleman speaking, coming to the podium now.
Okay.
My name is Robert Wool, Jr., Bob Wool's son.
Sir, do you solemnly swear that the testimony about to give in this matter shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. And just, could you please spell your last name and your address, please, sir?
Yep. My last name is Houle, and it's Junior. My address is 91 Tower Hill Road, Cumberland, Rhode Island.
Thank you.
I just had a few comments. I know Dale had asked my father a question about the cleaning solution of the guns. As far as my experience of going to other gun ranges, I've been to multiple. There is no station set up to clean your guns. That is on your own person at your own house. The only time the gun can be released out of your locked case is at the shooting stall. So it's not like in the waiting area, there's a spot where you can clean your firearms or take your firearms apart. By rules of the range, you're not supposed to have your guns out of the case at any time besides when you're at the shooting station. So as far as someone has mentioned discharges in the parking lot, there should be no guns visible in the parking lot at all. And my father would be watching that, or whoever he has working for him. Mainly for insurance reasons and people's safety. Another statement I had was Scott Martin, Vice Chairman, had a question about the backstop cleaning the media. I've been working besides my father and with Rex Shields as far as planning the range. My insight on it and opinion. The traditional trap you're talking about, I'm familiar with from Rex. It's a rubber berm trap which is shredded tires, which have to be cleaned every few months. You can substitute that with a steel trap. So none of the rubber has to be removed, sifted out and cleaned. All the lead is going directly into the barrel with the bullet head. So that right there wouldn't be an issue as far as rubber berm. And that was a significant increase in the price of the range.
if I recall correctly, it was over $60,000 a lane to add the steel trap, which would benefit as far as hazards and maintenance of the range compared to the rubber berm. Another thing I wanted to talk about, I know my name was mentioned as being one of the tenants that issues were had with. I did speak to the neighbor, I'm not sure your name, I don't remember your name. We did have issues with multiple of my friends driving up and down the road. And also my father's previous tenant, Empire Motorsports, countless issues with him, which a month ago he was evicted because of other issues that were going on in the parking lot. Like he had mentioned, riding dirt bikes and four-wheelers around the parking lot, which we have had neighbors come and complain, you being one of them, and the one across the street, which I understand. I've ridden dirt bikes my whole life, and I know how noisy they are. And I wouldn't appreciate that next to my house either, so I apologize for that.
Excuse me.
Mr. Chairman, let me interrupt for a minute. It's Attorney Steve Archibald. I just want to, it's okay for anyone to come and testify about the application itself and the relevant facts, but I don't want any witness getting off on a tangent about issues that aren't germane or relevant to the application. So just let's stay on point here. Whatever happened with all these other ancillary issues is not relevant. So keep going, but just stay on point, okay?
Okay, no problem. Sorry about that. I think that's it then. That's what,
Thank you. Any questions for the witness?
You said that, people aren't gonna be cleaning their guns, but don't you have that as a service to clean other people's guns? No?
No.
Okay.
Right now, we don't have a gunsmith in the facility. No guns are taken apart in the facility, no guns are cleaned in the facility. Currently, it's just firearms being sold and transfers being done. If I wanted to sell a gun to one of my friends, it has to go through the gun store. I can't just sell it to him out of my house. As far as cleaning at the range, that would be something that would have to be discussed between my father and Rex. I know other ranges I have visited and shot at myself because I have nowhere else to shoot. There is no cleaning station, and the only time your firearm can be out is at the shooting line, which is within that hour that you have. I don't know if that clears up the question.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else from the public who wishes to speak, please step up.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Zelinski's at the podium.
Okay. Mr. Zelinski, just get sworn in by Mrs. Finger and state your name and spell your last name and your address.
Name's Paul Walensky, Z is in Zulu, Wolenski, 19 Borget Court, North Smithfield.
Thank
This is
you.
a passionate meeting.
Hold on, Paul. Hold on, Paul. She wants to swear you.
Thank you. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony about to give in this matter shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth to help you God, sir?
I do.
Thank you very much.
Well, this is a passionate hearing, that's for sure. I'd like to start by saying that I've been shooting firearms for over 50 years. I hear people's concerns. I was taught properly. Safe handling, safe cleaning, safe storage of weapons. Negligent discharge was brought up. I belong to a gun club. If you brandish a weapon outside of the range, you lose your membership. Brandishing means showing a weapon. Negligent discharge, I think most people are aware you have more of a chance of having a intentional discharge in some parking lot, in some shopping mall. Gun handlers, gun owners that I know of are responsible people. Now, there are a couple of facts made. I was not going to come up and speak, but I made a few notes. I'm going to have to put my glasses on. So, Couple of things here. I respect the people who grew up here, but I can say that the Holes have lived in North Smithfield for generations. They create jobs. Is it about jobs? No, this is about a government. Let's keep that in mind with the Holes that have committed, have dedicated to this town. We got state handbook. Gamblers are concerned about chemicals. Most knowledgeable gun handlers will use a biodegradable cleaning fluid. It's made from from vegetables. You can actually rub it on your hands. It's used to treat wood to bring back the luster. Of course, you wouldn't want it after cleaning a barrel. Lead is dangerous. Make no mistake about it. But the folks that I've known for the past 50 years know how to handle that, mitigate it, and dispose of it properly. I'm glad the question was answered about a clean bay, because the gun indoor ranges I've gone to do not have indoor cleaning rooms. It's the responsibility of the gun owners to take to their premise, their garage, their shed, and clean it out. Number of other things here. Lead. I think many of us have folks that shot, they know what was described as the dark shooting range. They are. There's a fan that blows it right out into the atmosphere. What I've heard and what I understand about shooting range now, state of the art. Police ranges, state police, military, they do not want to endanger their human capital getting in. So, another thing too now, there is a development of polymer bullets which replaces lead bullets. Lead's dangerous, it's nasty stuff, make no doubt about it. There's actually, if you're a bird hunter, they've done away with some of the steel shots, the lead shots. So there's been great improvements in that. I think, I don't know, if this is passed, hopefully I'll be allowed to become a member there and shoot there and safe man, because we have NRA instructors that'll be on the premises to teach people how to handle weapons, clean weapons. Not there, not cleaning them there. Take them home, use them properly. So it's a passionate discussion. I don't have to go on because it is a passion of mine. I consider myself a responsible person. Well, some people are. Thank you.
What do you say?
Thank you.
I guess he shoots.
Any members have any questions for the person? Okay, anybody else from the public that would like to speak, please step up to the podium.
My name is John Neyman from North Smithfield, Neyman, 230 Great Road. I just have a question.
Hold on, John, can you hold on? Let's swear you in.
Sir, do you solemnly swear that the testimony about to give in this matter shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth to help you God?
Yeah.
Sir, could you just please spell your last name again for me? I didn't quite hear you.
Neyman.
Thank you.
I just have a question about the property up there. You know, and the land, Bob was gonna buy some land behind it. What is that zone? Is that industrial land? Because I know there was a bunch of land behind it. I don't know how many acres.
I'm sorry, sir, are you asking what the zone is behind this building?
Well, behind it, and I get what somebody said about, you know, the residents there and that, but where he's at is commercial. Next door is the North Smithfield Highway Department. Everything behind it, the liquor store that's there, there's another company down there. But there's like 5 lots for sale behind. There's a lot for sale on the side of Bob, where there's all construction equipment, bulldozers and bulldozers. That piece of land's for sale. I've seen that. The sign's out in front there. What is that zone?
I believe it's MU2.
What does that mean?
It's mixed use.
What about all behind it? There's like 5 lots
Same
behind it.
thing.
18 acres.
It was all zone mixed use.
Which
Could be mixed use 1, which has to be built towards a village type setting. MU2 is more light industrial. I can read it if you want.
So it could be homes that could go in there, or it could be businesses, or it could be
Yes,
anything.
sir. Yes, sir.
It could be anything.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'm just curious about that, about the land. Because he was interested in, talked about purchasing a piece that was behind it. I don't know what was that. You know, I get it. There's residential property there, there's people living there, I get the concern. And I mean, I grew up in this town, I saw it years ago when nothing was there. I've seen this town, how it's grown. And like I said, I'm just curious as to what the zoning is, and what could end up back there in the future.
Well, no large-scale shopping center, I can tell you that.
But it could be an industry, could it?
It all depends. If you look at section 12, you can actually look and see what the mixed use is and what is allowed and what is not allowed.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Any other members of the public that would like to speak? Carl, is that it for public
Mr. Chairman, let's just open it for anybody who's
on
the stream. Yeah, so anybody in watching from the Zoom link, would they like to make any kind of comments? If you do, please unmute yourself and state your name and address for the stenographer so she can swear you in. I'll just give you a couple seconds here to see if anyone wants to make any comments from the public. Mr. Chairman, nobody is making themselves known on the Zoom screen. Oh,
Okay, so I'll entertain a motion.
hold on one second. What was that?
I would actually like to say something.
Okay, is Jen?
Yes, Jen, my name is Jen Leclaire, Leclair.
Okay, Miss Finger is going to swear you in, Jen.
Hi, do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give in this matter shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Jen, may I please have your address?
It's 165 Quaker Highway.
Thank you very much.
Hi, I just wanted to mention, I have shot guns before. I have done the ladies' night with Daria Bruno at Midstate. I enjoy shooting guns, although I do fear them. I enjoy shooting them. But I just wanted to tell you of an incident that happened last summer. I was sitting out back in my yard and I heard 8 gunshots coming from the direction of the gun shop. It was so loud. It felt like it was in my yard. It was that loud. I ran in the house and I was very scared. I ended up calling the police, who then ended up going there and talking to the owner, Mr. Hool. But it was a very terrifying experience, and my biggest fear is an accidental shooting in the parking lot or something like that happening. I know most of the people there do not live directly in the vicinity of the gun range, of where it would be. But it's a terrifying experience of hearing that so close to your home. So I just wanted to make that statement, and I hope that people realize that it can be a very dangerous situation. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions of the person? Is that it from the public on the Zoom call? Anybody else on the Zoom call want to speak up?
Nobody else here, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, at this point, I'll entertain a motion to close the public part of the applicant.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Do anybody on the board have any more questions for the applicant?
I do.
Who is that, Paul?
Yes, let's close this is for, rep on action card. So can the shooting range be turned around and face the other direction? Yes. That doesn't present a problem?
That doesn't present a problem. In my opinion, it doesn't matter where they're facing, it's all safety contained. There's no way around this going to escape the building. That did actually have a dog that can target with the business. We have thousands of ranges around the world. But the lane can face any direction you want. But no matter where they're facing, it's all safe.
And can you speak to anything about like environmental testing? Like I heard testimony saying that lead's going to be tracked out of the building.
That does do.
There's a lot of things that were thrown out there, and it's just, there's a lot that's not true. But it also has to do with how the range is going to be managed and maintained. There's some numbers around all these thousands of ranges that OSHA checks, but it's all about how it's maintained. Will not have any issues with lead, do not have any issues with EPA or OSHA. Action Target, we pride ourselves in building state-of-the-art ranges and technology to do this, and we educate our customers on how to maintain these things and how to keep their employees safe. And we offer services to help them do this. And when it's done properly, you will not have any issues. And it really is true that the air leaving the range is cleaner than the air coming in.
Who has to verify this?
There's no one that's gonna come to the facility on a regular basis and test it. But I can tell you the agencies that shut down ranges in the past are the EPA.
Press zoom, see what happens.
It might be that. Ranges that aren't maintained properly. It's all about maintaining it properly.
So if a range did not meet the specifications, someone could call the EPA and they would go up there and, yeah, has any of your ranges got the EPA called on them?
I don't know that for sure. We got thousands out there. Yeah, I can't give a for sure answer on that.
Okay, thank you.
Well, I didn't really hear that question that last question that you asked them. What did you ask the applicant?
I asked if any ranges that they controlled had the EPA called on them.
I missed it again. So you asked them if people are tracking lead out of the building? Is that what you asked?
I asked what agency would be the one responsible for checking on this, and the EPA that regulates. Someone would call and make a complaint. And then I asked them, if have any of their ranges, have they had any problems basically with EPA? I paraphrased that last question, but I asked, that's what I was meaning to ask. And he didn't know that.
All right, gotcha. Any other board members want to ask any questions of the applicant?
Yeah, I have a question. Can you hear me?
Go ahead.
No.
Vin, is that Vin?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. I have a question. Earlier today, I gave the building inspector a copy of a plan before they divided that land, and there was a big drainage system between the two properties. And somebody had to maintain it. I was wondering who is maintaining it now. And I'm also wondering if you can park cars on it like they show.
So is that a question to Kerry,
No, it would be the owner.
the applicant?
Mr. Hool's at the podium again.
Yeah, there's been no problems there with drainage. They are able to park cars at the back of the building. What else would you like to know?
You listen, okay. Kerry has a plan. I gave him a plan.
Yeah, you showed me earlier. He asked me if we could get an excavator back there if we had to. I said, no problem, we could.
Okay. I have trouble hearing this thing, a lot of echoing. I'm wondering, on that drainage system that was approved by the zoning board in 2007, who's responsible for maintaining that? And can you park cars on it?
Yes, both of us are responsible for it. Both buildings are responsible for it, and yes, you can park cars in that area.
I can't. It just echoes, you know?
Ben, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, so what he said was that they both maintain it, and they are allowed to park cars on it.
Okay. That's all I want to know.
Good.
Yep.
Any other board members have any questions of the applicant? Not hearing any, I'll entertain a motion to close the applicant's portion of the application.
I'll make a motion to close the applicant portion of the application.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. So now we can deliberate.
Mr. Chairman?
What's
Mr.
that?
Chairman? Mr. Garapi asked for an opportunity to present his, close his case out, if you remember.
Okay, so let's make a motion to reopen the applicant.
A second.
So,
So I heard a first and a second.
second?
Yeah, I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. What I'd like to do is to summarize the findings that have to lead into your ultimate decision. I'll start first with the hardship. The first element of the approval of the hardship is that it is due to the unique characteristics of the subject land, not to the general characteristics of the surrounding area. The answer, quite frankly, that the testimony was that the lot is significantly irregular in shape, and due to its irregular shape, the building configuration is severely constrained and irregular. The rear lot line probably was determined by the existing topographic features. I think by looking at the survey and looking at the irregular shape and the configuration of the building as a result thereof, that we can determine that hardship in this particular case is due to the unique characteristics. That the hardship cannot be due to a physical or economic disability. None was claimed by my client, so that is also, I think, sufficient evidence to show that that condition has been satisfied. That it's not the result of the prior action of the applicant. The applicant has testified that the property and building that he purchased was in the exact same configuration today as it was then. So therefore, it was not something that he contributed to and would not qualify under that provision. The alteration, the general character surrounding area cannot be altered. Well, the description tonight of the general characteristic of the area is that on the side of him is there an existing commercial structure. In the back of the structure, in the back of his land, it is zoned MU2. It is vacant. It is the same with the right-hand side. That's MU2 land. This parcel is owned by two separate owners before it hits the residential district. The approval of the variance cannot impair the intent of the purpose of the comprehensive plan or the zoning ordinance. That part of the application was the planning board's letter indicating that the proposed development is consistent with the plan. And they also said that the standards and provisions are consistent with the comp plan and the zoning ordinance. The next one is the least necessary. We are asking only for a 11.1 foot deviation from the rear setback. At 11.1 feet from there, we would reach the edge of the premises, as I would say. We would go off the land area and down approximately an embankment of at least 25 feet. I stated that there is a tree line there that does protect, and act as a buffer area. Now, I will grant you that it is foliage, so that in the fall and the winter, there are no leaves on the tree, and the extent of the buffer zone is diminished. But that happens with all tree lines that are in fact defoliated. The hardship that is being suffered is more than mere inconvenience. That's the understanding. What does that mean? Well, to put it quite frankly, I'll say that this property is zoned MU2. And in an MU2 zone, by special permit, this operation is permitted. Therefore, a failure to grant the relief would make the construction of the 13-lane indoor firearm range infeasible. Stop. End of question. That is your determination. I will submit, however, that in this particular case, the setback deviation and the future impact on the proposed development would in fact be more than a mere inconvenience if you deny it. The owner is not, the use is permitted, so therefore the owner does not have to seek out alternative uses that could ultimately be used there. This is his selection, and that's according to the state law and case precedent. Let's turn ourselves into the particular findings you have to demonstrate to approve the special use permit. One, the special use cannot injure the use and enjoyment of neighboring properties. Neighboring properties is quite frankly defined as those abutting the property. We have MU2 zones and we have commercial development. It cannot be significant devaluation of neighboring property. I don't know how you appreciate a property that's next to you that is vacant, unused. It has to be a use that is in fact consistent with the zoning use law. The third and last element is that it's detrimental or injurious to the health or welfare of the community. I think we've all heard the testimony this evening, loud and clear. I think that we can tell that the highway abutting the property, servicing the property, is a major arterial artery of this town. That in fact, the introduction of 13 to 26 cars per hour leaving the property and turning onto Victory Highway is not in fact going to cause a traffic congestion or be detrimental to the traffic flow in that particular area. Safe, convenient, and adequate ingress and egress for emergency vehicles. There's no question that, in my mind, that nothing is being changed and that the emergency vehicles would have safe ingress and egress. There is sufficient off-street parking. Now, what is that? We can debate all day as to what this is or what it's at. The fact of the matter is, the zoning code says that 39 spaces is adequate parking for this particular use. In addition to that, Mr. Ford has gone out and spoke to his neighbor, and he has in fact said that overflow parking can be his parking. The one way to put this to an end is, if that's a real concern, you can stipulate that we get a written agreement with the next door neighbor as to the adequacy of that, if you really think the parking is not adequate. The area in which the use is proposed is uniformly populated with industrial uses or its own such. No question about that. Residential, there is some residential, but it is not the prevalent uses in that particular area. Don't forget that your own use chart that was established by your town council and said that this particular use is okay in that area, subject to meeting the requirements. The requested use, in terms of pollutant, hazardous materials being dumped into the groundwater or having traversed into the groundwater of the town, I think has been answered by the zoning officer, because this is in fact a permitted use in that particular site. My research, and up with the same answer that the building officer came up with this evening. And we were, ready to prove that, in fact, something turned out different. Line of sight distance, when you come out of the subject property, you come to Victory Highway, there is sufficient line of sight distance both to the right and to the left. So there's nothing that can imperil the safe passage onto the major Updale highway. The lead generated by the operation of the use is captured by a designated trap and chambers for collection and recycling. We've heard the representative tell us time and time again that this is what their product does. I would lay testimony is one thing, but somebody who's in the industry has designed this for a living and has patented devices to do these things. Certainly, I would think would carry this day. Lead dust is captured and removed. There are a number of ways in which it is. Does it always maintain itself? No, it never does. It's always the duties and responsibilities of the owner to do that. So who is ready, willing, and able to satisfy that condition. Special sound abatement. Again, people can stand here and say that they're going to hear the shots from wherever. The Shields have told us that this construction of their units, that does not happen. Really, again, it's lay testimony versus the expert testimony of a professional within the industry and has, in fact, tremendous experience with respect to indoor ranges. There's also the Class A fire retardant material that's used in the construction of the range. Limits the ability or the necessity of having a fire department called because the fire retardant material is in fact going to serve its purpose. I would say that all of these particular instances lead up to an indication that it is not against any of the provisions set forth in the ordinance. And the location of this particular range in that zone is proper and that we have met our burden of proof. I thank you all for your attention and your consideration. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them, but if not, then I will happily sit down and wait for the decision.
Does anybody on the board have a question for council?
I do. It may be towards Mr. Holt, but I'll ask counsel. Does your client plan on engaging in a contract to keep the range clean?
The answer is categorically yes.
So there would be no problem if that was stipulated in the decision.
We have no objection to that stipulation at all.
Thank you.
So just I have a tough time hearing you, Paul, but so you asked if the company that is going to build the facility, if they're going to be brought in on a contract to be I guess the caretaker, cleaner upper of the facility. Is that what you asked?
Essentially.
You know, the exact words, but you're looking to see if they were appeased to having in the decision that a contract is signed with the company building the facility to do the cleaning?
Yes, exactly.
Yep. Okay. Any other questions from anybody on the board?
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair and members of the board.
All right, thank you. So I'll entertain a motion to close the part of the application. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay. So now we can deliberate. So Paul, it sounds like, you want to have something in the decision with contract with the range builders, right? I don't know why I keep calling them the range builders. I have it written down here somewhere. Action targets, right?
I don't care who
they engage with, but it seems like they indicated they would be engaging it with the company that they built it with.
Yep, so you're just looking to have a contract with a outside company that does this for a living.
Yeah, I would prefer the builder, but I don't know if that's relevant. And then they had offered up that they wouldn't have a problem directing the lanes in the other direction.
I'm sorry, it mumbled. So the applicant said that they would have no problem with doing that?
They would have no problem changing the lanes, making them face the other way, so they wouldn't be shooting in the direction of any houses.
So if I remember correctly, right now the range is shooting towards the back of his property, right?
I don't, they're recanting it, I guess, a little bit. Is it possible?
So Paul, is the range right now shooting towards the back of the property? So if you're standing in the shooting range, your back is to the highway, right?
No, you're shooting to the right in that.
Your right-hand side is facing the highway. If you're where you're shooting, how it's proposed right now, you have an adjacent vacant lot rather, and then there's the Leclerc property. So I guess that's what Paul's.
If we're looking at, yeah, if we're looking at A5, you are shooting from the west to the east, roughly?
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So if you look at the parking spaces 27 to 33, you're shooting from there and you're shooting towards the right of this site plan, correct?
Yeah.
So Paul, you asked if they could turn that so that it's not shooting towards that direction, correct?
I had asked if that was a problem. I would have misunderstood their response, but I thought that it wasn't a problem.
Okay.
It was possible, and I thought I was give an answer to that. Yes, it was possible, but.
So what about the screening and buffering? Is there enough screening and buffering here? Is it relevant? Being that the next property is another lot that's MU2, and behind him is an MU2. Do we need to put some type of evergreen buffering in there? That will cut, if any noise does escape the building, it could cut down on the noise leaving that property.
Has Carrie gone out and done some type of preliminary inspection of the premises? That he has any feedback about that?
Yeah, I've been out to the property several times, but I have no comment.
Because that was a concern of one of the neighbors, was the buffering part, right? All right. So I have a question for Steve Archambault. Just real quick. I don't know if this matters, but I'll just mention it. So it lists the sections of the zoning ordinances from which relief is sought and description of each section. We have 5.46 on there. We have 9.2 on there. Then we have 12.11 number 2, which is, so the dimensional variances are kind of scattered throughout this book based upon the zones that they're in. So they're mentioning the section that pertains to the MU2 district for the setback. But when we actually go to apply that, we're actually dealing with section 9.3. Is it just implied, or does it need to be listed on his application that he needs to abide by section 9.3?
You analyze it through, you're asking the question in a way that, let me answer it best this way. You analyze the relief through the MU2 zone, but you use the tenants that are in 9.3 as the lens of analysis. Does that help?
Yeah, so it doesn't need to be listed on the application, right?
No, it's a collective thing because the zoning boards, regulations are vast and they have to be applied on a case-by-case basis within the tenets of relief, which is 9.3. based on the relevant zone, which is MU in this case.
Okay. So I had a tough time, hearing the council, but I think I got enough information from him. I think he laid out, very well, the different tenets for 931 and for 92, of why he abides by, each of those. I'm just gonna go through it real quick and add my piece of it, just in case this was not mentioned in it. Both the dimensional variance and the special use permit is going to be presented together. I should have mentioned that in the beginning. Those can be split, but if you look at the application says that one can't exist without the other. So usually when we see that, what we do is we actually process them both together. So any motion that we will make will be both for the dimensional variance and the special use permit. So under 931, Section A, that the hardship from the application seeks relief is due to unique characteristics of the subject land or structure, and that the general characteristics of the surrounding area is not due to a physical or economic disability application. Like I said, the applicant, talked to this in great length. I would just add, the building is already built. It's not squared off. The lot is a weird configuration, which is why part of that building is not in the setback, and why he has to go into that setback to square that building off. Let's see, the applicant would like to square the building off for better usage, and the ranges that he's trying to put in are required to be to 75 feet for him to be able to have a regulation range, be able to teach NRA courses in there, and for people to practice in there. So, just wanted to add that to that. Like I said, the lot is in a regular shape, which is, as the applicant stated, one of the reasons for that. Number B, the hardship is not the result of any prior action of the applicant. It does not result primarily from the desire of the applicant to realize greater gain. I basically, what the applicant said, obviously is very good. I would just add that the applicant didn't build this building. The building is what it is now. He's just trying to square it up so that he can have better usage of that building. It's not anything that the application created. He bought the building like that. So, number C, or letter C, that the granted requested variance will not alter the general characteristics of the surrounding area or impair the intent or purpose of the zoning ordinance or the comprehensive plan upon which this ordinance is based. The general characteristics of this area is industrial commercial. The building is, let's see, the town DOT barns are in that area. There's other commercial industrial buildings in that area. The addition that he is putting on is in the back of the building. He's not really expanding the building other than squaring up the existing building that he has. That area is pretty much MU2. So the building's already there. He's not building a new building. He's just adding a little structure onto that building to, the 840 square feet, just to square that building off and what he needs to do to do the indoor range. Letter D, that the relief to be granted is the least relief necessary. He's just trying to square the building off. He's not looking to lengthen the building or make the building wider. He's just trying to square the building off so that it's more conducive to doing what he needs to do in that building. And obviously what the application stated too. Letter A, the granting of the variance requested will not confer on the applicant any special privileges that is denied by the ordinance of the land structures of buildings in the same district. I think the applicant spoke to this pretty deeply. I'll just add that the granting of the variance requested will not confer on the application any special privilege that is denied by the ordinance to other land structures or buildings in that same district. And anybody can come in and ask for a special use permit in that district, and him getting his special use, if it does get passed, does not preclude anybody else from coming to do that and not be able to get it. Others can come forward for a special use permit, like the applicant. It doesn't give them any special privileges. The one piece I missed on C with the comprehensive plan, we have a letter from the planning board that basically says that this project is consistent with the comprehensive plan of the town. Then we get into the 932B, the grant of a dimensional variance, that the hardship that will be suffered by the owner of the subject property if the dimensional variance is not granted shall amount to more than a mere inconvenience. The fact that the use may be more profitable or the structure may be valuable after relief is granted should not be grounds for relief. Obviously, the application spoke to that very well. The only piece that I would add to that, the applicant is looking to square the building off again. You know, that's all he's trying to do is square the building off and make more usable space for the 75-foot range lanes. Without picking the building up and moving it towards the street, so that the farthest point of the encroachment of the setback is not within 10 feet into the setback. You know, that's his only other alternative, is to try to pick that building up and move it, which is not feasible. I think he's fine on that. Then we get into the special use permit. There's some tenants in there. The first one is, let's see, 9-2-1. Ingress and egress to the property of proposed structure therein with particular reference to fire or catastrophe. Again, the applicant spoke to this. I think he addressed all of this and more, but I just had, the building's already built and it's not squared off, so he's trying to square it off. It has a weird clip corner due to the unique characteristics of that lot itself. The applicant would like to square the building off for better usage. Ranges need to be 75 feet. And again, the lot is irregularly shaped. I'm sorry, I'm on the wrong one. I just jumped on the wrong one. Sorry about that. I'm sorry. Let's go back to that one, 921. So the ingress and egress of the property is proposed structures. The structure is already there. The egress and egress has already been addressed with that building. He's added an addition to that building, and he's testified that fire will not have a problem getting around that building. He's also testified that they're putting some fire retardant material inside that building, which will make it even more, I won't say fire resistant, but to contain the fire if the fire does break out in that building. Is it a building that is already, let's see, the applicant is adding around 10% to the existing building, which I don't think is obtrusive. He's not lengthening the building or increasing the width of the building. He's just trying to square the building off again. I keep popping on that, but and again, highest fire access around the building. He stated that. Number 2, off-street parking and loading areas were required with particular attention to the items in one above and the economic noise, glare, and odor effects of a special use permit on adjoining properties and properties generally in the district. Off-street parking and loading areas were required with a particular attention to the items in the above. So as the applicant testified, no additional odor will be pushed out from the system. They testified that the air that is being taken from the outside is coming out of that building cleaner than it went in. Glare, we talked about lighting. If we do lighting, just make sure it's the type of lighting that is conducive to what do they call it, night sky or night something or other, where it doesn't bleed off of your property. It only sends a light on your property. Noise, he also testified by the application that no additional exterior noise. He stated that the noise wouldn't even be greater than the cars driving by on the highway. He's also testified that they're putting in baffles, I guess you could say, or noise suppression on the walls and on the ceiling in there, which will reduce the noise of that inside of that building also. Number 3, refuse and service areas with particular reference to items in 1 and 2. It's an existing building. I know Gail had some concerns. I had concerns about the removal of the lead. The applicant did testify that, you know, nothing that's hazardous is going to come out of that building that's not contained. That includes the lead that comes out of the backstop, and it includes the filters that come out of there, both for the vacuuming of the material on the floor and the filters for the pre and post filtering of the air. What else? Number 4, utilities with reference to location, availability, and compatibility. This doesn't really apply. I asked a question on the utilities. They already have adequate, electrical in that building. They're not gonna have to bring in, additional electrical in that building. Also with it tied to the septic, he's already got adequate for that. And obviously the water. So I don't think that's really relevant, based upon him not having to do any increases on that. Number 5, screening and buffering in reference to type, dimensions, and character. They did testify that there's a mature tree line, with sufficient screening and buffering of the abutting vacant, MU2 zone property. We did have a, member of the public testify that, they can see right into, that building. Or I should say they can see the building through their backyard. So, you know, maybe we can put in our motion that, we want to see some type of evergreen buffering there to kind of protect that building from the neighbors. Number 6, signs, if any, and proposed exterior lighting with reference to glare, traffic safety, economic effect, compatibility, and harmony with properties in the district. We're in MU2 district now. There's signs on those buildings now. The applicant testified that he will not be adding any additional signs on the road. He may add an additional one on the building. But if he does add an additional one on the building, it's in harmony with the district because the buildings in that area already have signs on them. Number 7, required yards and other open space. I asked a question. This isn't applicable for this application. He's not going to be doing any required yards or other open space outside of that building. And then number 8, which is general compatibility with the adjacent properties and other properties in the district. Basically, you know, that's an MU district. There's already other buildings in that area that look just like that building. He's not adding a new building. He's just adding a little section on that building. My feeling is that's not going to affect the general characteristics of the district because the building's already there, and where they're adding it on is in the back part of the building. So more than likely, you won't even see it from the road. And that's about it on that.
Scott,
Anybody want to add anything for any one of those that I might have missed?
a couple of things.
Yep.
One with the variance and what with the special use.
Yep.
I don't know where you would fit it, but with regard to the variance, there's already parts of this property that don't meet the setback requirements. So if you add that, you're basically saying it's already a non-conforming use property.
What section are you talking about? Are you talking about the right side where it's only 20 feet?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that is within regulation. That setback on that side is 20 feet. If you look in the book in section 522, there's a note 2. Any permits agriculture, residential, public, or semi-public use within the BHBN or M zones shall confer to the dimensional regulations of the nearest residential zone rather than the dimensional regulations of a BHBN LC zone or M2 zone, while residential zones of different regulations are equivalent. The more restrictive dimensional regulation shall apply. So that next nearest residential is a 20-foot setback. So I had the same thing because I circled that in my 25-4. He's already in the setback on that side of the building. But if you look on his drawing, there is a dotted line for the setbacks. And the reason why the setbacks on the left and the right are at 20 is because of the residential. That answer your question?
Yeah, I suppose. And the other thing is, as far as the special use, and I don't know if Mr. Garapi mentioned this, this is really just an extension of their existing business. They're just expanding additional services.
Yeah.
They already sell guns.
Yep. Good point. Yeah, I'm not quite sure where that would fit in, within that special use, but. Anything else?
Nope, not from me.
Anybody else on the board have anything to add to the special use permit or the dimensional variance? Other than what was stated by myself, Chris, and the applicant, and anything that any other members had added in? No, so at this point, no, I would entertain. So basically, when we do our motions, we do them in the affirmative. So that doesn't mean that they're getting approved. It just means that we do it in the affirmative, and if it passes, it's approved, and if it doesn't pass, it's denied. So, don't think that well, what comes out is that it's automatic approval. It's just we do them in the affirmative so that, it just makes it easier. So does anybody have anything written up for that?
Hey, Scott,
Yep.
I got a quick question for you. There are a lot of things I couldn't hear, but the way I think I hear it, maybe this could be a good thing. If he sells a weapon, they can try it out in a safe, sound, bulletproof building that they would have. That the building is going to be bulletproof and soundproof, right?
That's right.
Okay.
Yep. You know, they testified that it's impossible for a bullet to leave that building inside. So,
and it's going to be soundproof.
Soundproof, I think what they testified is it is soundproof, but it's not going to be any louder than a car driving by on the highway. I know for a fact, like we have one up at the gun club that I belong to. We don't have the sound deadening stuff on it, and you got to pretty much be within probably 30 or 40 feet of that building to be able to hear any gunshots. So I imagine with the buffer, with the sound deadening material that they're going to put in there, it's going to reduce that even more. But they didn't testify that you wouldn't be able to hear it from outside. They just testified it would be no louder than a car driving by on the highway.
I would like to see it soundproof, you know. When I go dump my stuff at the dump, I don't want to be hearing ding, 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 ding. You know, I don't think the neighbors would either. I don't see why they can't make it soundproof.
Well, they are making it soundproof, but they're just not saying that you won't hear nothing. There's a sound ordinance inside of town, and what they've testified is that they're not going to exceed that, right? Because if they exceed it, they're going to get a citation from Kerry if there's too loud of a noise coming from that building, right? At least that's my feeling towards it. Anybody else have a difference of a feeling for that?
Scott? Yeah, I've lived next to an outdoor firing range, and it's not that loud, to tell you the truth. I hear it all the time. I can hear it inside my house, but it doesn't bother me. It's just like another noise. I have Route 5 right on the side of me. That's loud. But when I hear the morning, you can hear the hunters. We have hunting. So you're going to hear firing for people that are hunting. So are you afraid of people hunting near your house? That to me would be more scarier than having an indoor firing range. I would rather see people go learn how to use the weapon instead of going outside of their house with a pistol and go and shooting around off being, this is how they've been doing it, unfortunately. I don't see the traffic. I'm gonna comment on that. I think you're gonna see a lot more traffic from Massachusetts going down that highway with all these compassion centers going on. There's at least 3 or 4 new ones that are going up in Uxbridge, so you're gonna get a lot more traffic through Massachusetts than you would with the gun shop. I do believe that he's gonna have online reservations, thank you, reservations, so there's not gonna be a crowd of people coming in, I don't believe. I do believe that once they get their permit, they're gonna go back to the planning board with your final plan. Is that, are they going back to the planning board after the zoning board hearing?
It depends on what stage they're at. I think they're at preliminary. Okay, I don't know the answer to that, but it's,
Okay.
I'm the zoning official, not the plan. I believe the board has in its possession the planning board decision.
Yes. But it doesn't say that they have to go back to the planning board. So once you have all your preliminary drawings and everything, you're all set to go with the building inspector. Okay. That's all I have to say.
Any more questions from the board? Gail, can you write up a motion or a Paul for the approval? And so there's a couple of pieces in that motion outside of just approving it, right? It would be the stipulations that Paul mentioned, and the stipulations that I mentioned on the buffering. But I don't know if, do we write that in the motion that, that's a decision by Kerry, whether that needs to be buffered? Or do we just put it in the motion that it has to be buffered with some type of evergreen growth?
I would put it in the motion.
Okay.
You know, I took another look at the map. If we reverse the way they shoot, they're shooting at parking spaces. And in theory, they're actually closer to the residential residents from where they're shooting, which is where the noise would come from. So I don't know whether it's necessary to reverse the direction of shooting as they propose.
So the residential houses, are they directly in line or are they more closer to the highway? Yeah.
Up in the house that is there is in line with the parking spaces, not with the building wall.
Right. So where they would be shooting towards wouldn't be towards the house, it would actually be towards the construction company that's on the right-hand side. There's also huge mounds of dirt that, right, I don't think that gravel company is here anyway.
Hey, Scott,
Yes.
I have another question for you because I can hear you rather well, but I can't hear what's going on in the room.
Yeah.
You got to remember, if they don't make it soundproof, the rules on manufacturing area have different decibels than people who live in a residential area. So that's why I think, they should try to make it soundproof and keep everybody happy, or put silencers on their guns. I mean, I'm in favor of the project, but I wouldn't want to live with, I meet the rules.
So Vin, you might not know this, but it's illegal to shoot a silencer in the state of Rhode Island. You can't put a screw-on barrel silencer on a gun. So that's
Yeah, Kerry Anderson here. There's been testimony by the applicant expert that there will be adequate sound attenuation in the building. Do we all get that now? I don't hear that question again, really.
Yeah, I agree, Kerry. He addressed that he would abide by the sound ordinance, right?
Right.
Vin, did you hear that?
No.
So what Kerry said is, the applicant has made testimony that he will make sure that it abides by the sound ordinance in the town. You know, my suspicion is it's gonna be less than the sound ordinance in the town, because of what he's building with the 6-inch concrete and then the sound deadening on the ceiling and the walls. But if he exceeds the sound ordinance, you know, he's gonna get, you know, citations from Kerry. So.
Yeah, see, this is what I'm saying, Scott. The manufacturing has a different decibel level than residential, and that's in the manufacturing zone. So he could meet his standard in his zone, but it wouldn't necessarily meet, you know, the standard in the residential zone. And that's why I'm wondering if it could get resolved so he could make it relatively soundproof. That's all I'm looking at. So people wouldn't have to complain.
I just think you're overreaching because, you know, if a manufacturing company was coming in here that manufactured something, they could come right to the edge of the decibel level of an MU district, regardless of that residential district that's, you know, whatever it is, 300 yards through the woods, 200 yards through the woods.
Right, you could have all that property developed in the future in such a way that there's trucks going in and out, and that would be louder than what's coming out of the range anyways.
Right.
Yeah, you know, exactly. That's why the poor people who live in those areas sometimes don't make out too well when we mix the zones with residential and manufacturing so close. So I think it behooves us to, you know, if you're living in those houses and somebody was building something and you don't mind them building, they could make it relatively soundproof. They could come under the standard, not meet the standard. You know, if they were under the standard by a few decibels or meet the standards in the residential zone and make everybody, and they can do it when they're putting something new up. Rather simple.
So you realize there's an MU2 to the right of him, right? So you're gonna put a restriction on him to be residential, but then the guy coming in, the MU2 to the right of him, isn't gonna have that restriction.
Well, he's the one that's looking for an exception.
I think it's overreaching personally, but
Well, it's up to you guys.
you know, I mean, does anybody know what the decibel numbers are for an MU2 to a residential zone that's there? Does anybody know what the numbers are? Are they the same? Are they different? How much different are they? Do you know if they are different?
What's the question, Scott?
What was that?
What's your question?
The noise ordinance in an MU2 district in comparison to the noise level in the residential district that's next to it. You know, what's the difference in decibels? Is there a difference?
I don't
know if Kerry knows that, or, you know.
Noise is noise. You know, look, a neighbor is going to complain about noise. You can have a rock band, you know, whether it's in an MU2 or a residential neighborhood, somebody's going to complain about noise. So if he's going to have a neighbor and he's going to complain about noise, he's going to complain about noise, whether it's a small gun or a rifle.
Yep.
And you know, I'm trying to break this up, and I think the same with the evergreens, because there's a zone, like you said, there's an MU2 zone right next door. You know, with enough buffer, natural buffer, I guess, I don't think he's not building this building, it's already been there for years.
Yeah, but I think, you know, it specifically in the special use permit mentions in buffering, and the buffering is not defined as a canopy of old trees that's up. Every time we've done buffering, whether it's solar or people parking equipment in people's driveways, you know, the buffering is some type of evergreen that when you look from your lot into that lot, you can't see into it easily, right?
I have a question. So Carrie, someone mentioned that there was a driveway that goes on the side of your property that's going into the back of the property. Right. So you're going to have equipment going back and forth on that road. What kind of buffering are you going to stop? You're going to have buffering here, and you're going to have the trucks going back and forth Because there's a lot of land back there, and there's a lot of trees, so if someone buys that land, they're gonna be, so, I don't understand what kind of buffering he's gonna need when you already have an MU2 on the side of him.
Well, the only reason why I'm bringing it up is because we have a resident that came in that says from his backyard that he can turn around and see that building. So I'm trying to appease the residential part of that area, to make it easier on him not to be able to see it. And because of that buffer with the evergreens, if there is some noise that escapes that building, it's going to get, pushed down because it's hitting the buffering of the pine trees. Whereas right now, there's nothing but a high canopy of oak trees. And if noise does get out of that building, it's going to travel, right? I mean, by the time it hits him, it'll probably be very, very, very low. But if we put evergreens in there, it buffers the building from him and it should kick down on some of the sound. I mean, maybe I'm overreaching, but that's my opinion because, we had a resident say that, he can see the building and he'd like to see buffering, right?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I just need to say this once again. We heard expert testimony by the company who does this all over the world that there will be adequate sound attenuation in the building. I don't think we should take this any further.
Okay. So strike the buffering then.
Hey,
Mr. Chairman, let me interject for a minute before Vinnie. Kerry raises the point, I give the board a lot of latitude and only step in when legal advice is necessary. But remember, it's a quasi judicial board. You're there to gather facts, act as fact finders, and then to use those facts within the bounds of the relief that's requested of the applicant. So if an expert has testified, as Kerry pointed out, that the buffering is adequate based upon his testimony, what you want to be careful of is not interjecting or bringing in anything outside of that testimony, just merely because you feel that way. You got to be careful of those kind of things. You want to stick to what has been presented on the record. Now, if you don't think that expert's testimony or his level of expertise satisfies you for the concern for the buffering, you actually could require additional buffering, but it's that testimony that needs to be weighed, and that's the point that Kerry was just making. Keep that in mind. I don't want anybody to get too far afield here as they're thinking about the relief.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Marcantonio?
Yeah, what were they saying about sound? I didn't hear it.
Yeah, so what Kerry said is he's had an expert witness testify that they will protect the sound of that building so that, I forgot exactly how he worded it, but you got expert testimony saying that they're going to be looking at the sound and make sure that the sound is at the minimum, I guess.
Mr. Chairman?
Okay.
Yes.
Just a reminder, you're running up to 10 o'clock, so you may have to make a motion to extend a little bit.
Okay. I'll make a motion to extend the meeting for 15 more minutes to 15 after 10. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
I buy that because I know the whole family and I know they would try to do things correctly if once it's brought to their attention. So they're going to try to minimize the sound, and I don't have a problem with that.
Okay.
That's what they said they were going to try to do, right?
That's right.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion to approve ZER 21047 for dimensional variance pursuant to section 9.2.1 of the zoning code, providing the maintenance contract is in place with a certified environmental company.
Did you mention all three ordinances, the 546, the 92, and the 1211-2 in that?
I could mention those as well. I put ZBR 21047 pursuant to section 9.2.1, section 5.4.6, and section 12.11, parentheses 2.
So you said ZBR 21047. Mine might be cut off. So is this, Carrie, is this application 4 for 2021 or is this application 47 for 21?
It's application 4. I'm sorry, I stand corrected. Application 4. So I make a motion to approve ZBR 2104 for dimensional variance, section 9.2.1 of the building code, along with, bear with me,
Is that it?
no,
Where you at?
sorry, I misplaced that other thing. Oh, section 9.2.1 of the code, along with section 5.4.6, the use chart recreation indoor commercial, and the section 12.11 parentheses 2, design standards for NU2 setback.
Yep, that's good.
Providing the maintenance contract is in place with a certified environmental company.
Yep. Do I hear a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, that's second by Gail. Can we do a roll call vote?
Scott Martin,
Yes.
Paul Pasquale,
Yes.
Vinnie Mike Antonio, Vinnie,
Vinnie,
That yes.
Gail Denomey,
Yes.
Chris DeZiel.
Yes,
and Chris DeVille.
yes.
Right, so the motion passed. Good luck.
Thank you.
All right, so I don't think we have anything else on the agenda.
I guess you are. I want to discuss.
Does anybody want to make a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn, Mr. Chair.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.